Hey everybody, how's it going?
How you doing? Thanks for bearing with us here.
Yeah, sorry, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty getting the motion controllers to see our brand new Vive that we got for this. So,
Yeah. We got some shiny new toys to show you
we
here
got some
today.
shiny new toys today. So this is our ball in the cup device. Nah, just kidding. This is actually the very nice, ergonomically correct Steam VR motion controller. And this is a comparison to the old one. So you see we've got this nice little hole in the center, no more sombrero. Feels pretty heavy. The cool thing about these compared to this one over here is like this feels like a finished, like full-fledged, like I'm really ready to go shoot some zombies or pick up some rocks or whatever it is you happen to decide to do in VR. I mean, the touch, this little touchpad, just the whole thing feels much.
Just more polished.
Yeah, more polished. Yeah, more polished, stronger. Like I was trying to come up with a bunch of good words, but it just feels more polished. That's the best way to put it. And then we've got this new bad boy right here. This thing is like 200 grams lighter than the other one. It's super light. It's got a new strap on the back here. I love the wiring casing right here.
It's also got the button on the side for adjusting.
Yeah.
Focal.
It's got the focal distance. This pushes this little knobby right here that my fingers are on. Pushes the lenses closer or further apart. And let's see if we can zoom in on that guy right there. It's hard to see because it's black on black. But and then of course it's got the camera in the front, which is right here, which I've been meaning to try to do the pass-through stuff. Literally have not had a free second to do that. We got so much stuff coming up. So for you guys today, what we're going to go ahead and show you is Wes and I have still been working on the carnival games. Wes has gotten a lot of stuff done. We've got a basketball game that we do have working in multiplayer. However, we ran into a bug, unfortunately. A rather cool bug, but a bug nonetheless. Basically, I saw Wes's character moving around in the multiplayer, but then I was controlling his hands and my hands at the same time. Or possibly a feature, maybe not a bug, you know? I mean, that's how GTA started, right? So, but we'll walk you guys through what we've got done so far, and kind of how we got to this point, and then what we're going to be doing in the future. So
yeah, we're also going to jump into, I mentioned a couple streams back that Sam and I have done. We talked about a networking project. There's been some questions on the forum. How's that project coming along? When are we going to see the video series for that? We're going to jump into that really quickly too as well and kind of show you the finished project. And the video series has been recorded, so it's in our video team's hands right now, putting the final touches on it. I don't have a firm date of when it's going to be released, but it's done, in the bag, recorded, so it should be relatively soon. And we'll show you the finished project of that here in a moment as well.
Okay, cool. So let's see, I've got, which one is this one? Do you want to go
just start and get that out of the way?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start. It's this one right here, right? Okay.
So we have on the screen right now, this is the finished multiplayer project. Again, this was a couple streams ago. We talked about creating a Left 4 Dead style lobby system where clients can connect to it, and then the server can change some settings that replicate to clients, and then jumping into an actual gameplay map. So we're actually going to show that here. Do you have Steam up? You should, right?
I do. Yeah, because I have.
And this video series was also aimed with the goal of integrating Steam as well. So the multiplayer shootout project that is currently available for free on the marketplace, primarily focused on LAN, was done in Blueprints, as is this video series as well. So if you don't know a lot of C++ like myself, you can jump right in there with Blueprints and accomplish pretty much the same thing, just kind of working through all the nodes and getting the functionality that you want.
I'm always surprised at everything that Wes can do. He's like, "Oh, dude, check this out," and I'm like, "What the heck is Space Wars? What are you doing? What game is this?" And he's like, "Dude, check it out. Come join my game." And boom, he did. I mean, did it all in Blueprints, man.
Yeah.
It's really, really amazing how much stuff you can accomplish in Blueprints. So.
Yeah, I don't traditionally have a programming background. My background's mostly been in design and a little bit of scripting, but not core programmer background. More on the art side. You guys probably have much higher pedigree for programming than I do. So Blueprints has been a godsend to me. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Actually, go ahead and do let's do a standalone. You got to do a standalone. Whenever you're testing Steam, you can't play in the editor. You do need to do a standalone game. So go ahead and launch that up. And if we cut away to my beautiful face here for a second, I am using a laptop here. If I bring it into frame here, and I already have the game up running here as well. I am on a different network than Sam.
Yeah,
So
he's
we're
on the
going
wireless,
to not
I'm
be
on the
doing
wired.
LAN. We're going to be doing a internet play here. So first thing I want to do, let's go ahead and show, recapping really quick what we have here. Just a basic main menu. We have the ability to host, find a match. We have options. You can come in and set your name for your character, kind of like a player name. You could select an avatar. These awesome avatars that I just used from the engine content. Go back to that one. That one's my favorite.
I'm gonna be a branch.
Because
I want to be a branch.
So you have the options to go in and do that. Very minimalistic. I didn't want to go too far for this first foray into Blueprint networking.
It's like with anything, artwork
Baby
is just going to make the experience
Baby
better,
steps.
right?
We show you how to set that up. So if you want to come back and replace those avatar images with whatever you like, feel free. Did want to try to hook into Steam's avatar. So if you have an avatar set as your Steam ID, hooking into that. Unfortunately, when speaking to our networking team here, they don't have the hooks for that yet. I know that's something that they're looking at, especially in Blueprint. There might be some of that on the C++ side. I don't have the C++ knowledge to implement that. Maybe we can get Richard to help me on that. But from the Blueprint only side, as this project was done entirely in Blueprints, there was no exposed functionality for that.
Yeah,
so
nothing that was like, oh, hey, I need this functionality. Can somebody code this for me? This was like, no, how do I get over this? I mean, we used a lot of the Blueprint debugging to step through code. I know I saw you using that quite a bit. But the most important thing about this, and even though I didn't work on the blueprints, I remember Wes spinning his wheels for days trying to figure this out, and it's your order of operations that you do things in that's so freaking important, or else you're going to get weird disconnects. Like, you'll connect, but then you won't see each other, or you'll see each other for a split second, and then someone will drop out of the server. And it was like...
Right. I do want to do a blog post on this as well, working with Lauren as well, because I know she had planned this as well. But the order of operation as you're stepping through codes is what Sam is referring to here. So if you spawn in a player controller, is that possessed before the game mode? Is the game mode assign the player controller and pass that over, etc. Just that stepping through the code is everything has to be in the right order. Otherwise, you'll end up with a null entry for a particular thing. So and you're trying to reference a player controller that hasn't been assigned yet, something like that. So.
And it's very frustrating because you're like, it works. I don't get it. So,
let me go ahead and just throw up a quick game here.
So Wes is going to,
Actually, I'm going to let you host so that I can
host the game.
So here's our host game setup. I can enter a server name, choose the number of players. Go ahead and choose the internet method too as well. We also set the number of players. You could set it up to 8, but in the video series, I'll show you exactly where you can set this up if you want to increase or decrease that. I have a load screen here, and once Sam jumps in, he's created a server here as our lobby. The ability to set up some game settings, so we can choose between these two lovely maps, which are just placeholder, but you can kind of populate that with your own maps down the road. You can set a map time, like your traditional deathmatch, time limit, etc. If you click the tabs at the top there, there's one for kicking players, and there's one for game settings. There's nobody currently connected, so can't kick anybody just yet. If you hit back,
hold on.
Get out of there. I can select characters.
Select character.
So I have a bunch of different Infinity Blade characters here. If you choose one, you see it populates the world here. You can hit T on your keyboard there to toggle that.
Oh, cool. So
you can kind of walk around in this little environment while you're waiting for people to connect, which I thought would be kind of cool. You could put some mini games or something in here while you're waiting for the game to start. It'd be kind of cool. You can also go into the chat message window there. You should be able to type into there. There you go. So there's Sam. Let me go ahead and connect to this real quick and we'll show the rest of it here. So on my laptop here, I am searching for games. Let's see if I can find it. So just a second here. Of course, it's not finding it. Let's see.
Did you get it?
No, of course, it's not finding it. You are on others.
Oh, there we go. Finally.
So
we tested this before, and then it's just everything has been
very important that
today.
you make sure that you are on the same version of Unreal Engine. If you're on 4.10.2 and I'm on 4.10.1, we will not see each other because of the different versions. So whenever you're doing multiplayer stuff like this, in order to connect to one another, you have to make sure that you are on the same Unreal Engine version.
Yeah, and that just while he does one thing that you're going to want to do, and this is just project-wide for anything that you do, whether it be a game or an interactive thing, you always want to stay on the version that you have, like 4.10.1, for as long as possible until there's something that comes out that's like, I really, really, really could use this to upgrade. Then you pick targeted upgrades. It's very... it's very bad practice to upgrade in the middle of a project.
Especially if you don't need to.
Yes,
if everything's working for you, if there's a new feature that comes online, then
and I'm
by
talking
means,
like a
based
new
on your
feature
project.
like in 4.11 we have instant stereo rendering for VR. Now that is a perfect that I would upgrade my project for in the middle of a project, or even close to ship, I would update a project to get that particular feature because of the amount of performance that it gives you back.
We should talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
So if you hit T back on your keyboard there, I have joined. On my laptop here, I can go ahead and select a character. Let's go ahead and pick the natural here. I spawn in. If you go to select a character, whoops, sorry, too bad. I guess we can describe it. But this was the map that Sam chose. You can see I have jumped in with him. I can.
Sorry, I got a little excited to play multiplayer.
Yeah. I can also chat to you here. There we go. So chat system's working too as well. But what I was going to illustrate is that the character select screen is dependent on client server. So if the server picks one character, client knows that the server has picked that character, or other clients will know that the server has picked that character. So it's character locked,
so it's
which is something that
Left 4 Dead, I can't pick, what's her name, Chloe?
We all can't pick the same person. Some people were asking how do I handle character selection in a multiplayer environment, so I kind of wanted to tackle that as well here. So we got that up and working as well. As well as the ability to kick players, which is kind of something.
Yeah, you definitely need that.
As well.
Any game, you're going to need that.
So that's the basic gist of this. We're going to go through that whole project from scratch in that video series, which has been recorded. So just wanted to illustrate that, give you an update on that project.
All right,
so go ahead and close that out.
So that one's that one. And then, let's see. So we're going to go back to the carnival stream game here.
Yes. When with motion controllers not working, it's going to be a little bit hard
it's going to be a little hard to illustrate. So, not sure why.
Do you want to talk about the instant stereo?
Yeah, let me make sure it's
that option. You're on 410. It's not going to show up here, is it?
No. Give me 1 second, guys. We can. Sorry about that.
Yeah, this is a 4.11 feature that just came online. If you're looking at the preview, you should be able to access it there as well. It's just actually really simple to turn on. It's just a checkbox.
Yeah, it's literally just a checkmark box, and I actually have. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. I don't have the dock up here on. There's actually a. No, it's got a shortcut in it. Hold on 1 second here. Totally forgot about that. And so as you guys can see, here's my speaking notes. Here we go. Right here.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it. Copy that guy. With the motion, we were trying to get the motion controllers right up to work it to the end, and of course everything started they were working, and then one stopped working, and then the other one stopped working, and then they both didn't work anymore.
Well, fortunately, now we won't have to move hardware into this room since we got these new ones. We've been able to keep it in here. We won't have to swap it out. Got your notes up?
My freaking window won't move over.
Hey, I can open them for you here on this laptop.
Well, I was trying to show. The video is not coming up for whatever reason.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to show the. So we're just gonna make a new first-person project. I always started off on the mobile scalable 2D content with no starter content because I'm making a VR project.
Mm-hmm.
This way, when I start my VR project, I don't have to go through and start doing a bunch of turning off this, turning off that, disabling all this stuff.
To what you need.
Yeah. So let me create this project really quick. So basically, this feature, what it does is it shares data between the left and the right eye. So what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to render the data, or to share the data that's rendered in between the two eyes instead of rendering the left eye and then rendering the right eye. Mm-hmm. I don't have any raw data on the performance increases that you do get, this is a 20% increase or a 10% increase. One, I haven't tested it, but two is probably going to be most dependent on your project and what you're doing in that particular project. But turning it on and doing all that other stuff, ridiculously simple. Mm-hmm. It takes longer for me to start a new project, start the editor, and enable it than it actually does to do everything else that's required for it. Yeah. So when it comes up, we go Edit, Project Settings, and it is under the rendering. And if we look for the VR section, which is right here. You see instant stereo rendering. Now I'm going to turn this on. What this is going to require is an editor restart and a editor shader recompile. And while we talk about that one, it's not going away. You guys, I'm telling you, when it rains, it pours, right? The other thing I want to talk about is layered stereo rendering, which is a new feature. So basically, layered stereo rendering allows you to send a separate texture. As you guys can see, that came back up, and now it's got to recompile all the shaders. But that's it. Instant stereo rendering is on. That's it. That's all you had to do. Literally was turn that checkmark box on. But the layered stereo rendering basically allows you to send a separate texture at runtime to the HMD, the head-mounted display. And this is really useful for things for like UI or things that you don't want to be affected by the tone mapper or the post-processor or something like that. This, and again, like I say, it gets composited in another pass, so it's not affected by post-process. It's currently only implemented for Oculus right now.
Yeah.
And it's really good for UIs, which I would say if you need to put something like, I have this UI object that I'm going to place in the world, because as we all know, you really shouldn't put like well, first off, UMG is not going to work in VR. It doesn't work because that's not
2D.
Yeah, it's 2D. It's 2D. Yeah. You're going to have to use a 3D widget. But for example, if you wanted to have your UI, the player's in a very dark area, or there's some heavy tone mapping going on, you would put your UI on the layered stereo rendering so that it's not affected by anything else in the scene. Like there's no post-process on it, there's no AA on it. You don't want AA on it because it's gonna smooth everything out, so you might lose some of the sharpness or the crispness to your text objects on your menu and things like that. And that's all I've got for that particular one. Let me see, what else do we have here?
I'm not seeing any questions in the Twitch for some reason, but we did have one question on the forums, which we'll get to in a little bit.
So I've got a couple in the document here. So let's see, I'm using the physics handle style pickup with motion controllers. What's the best way to network the picked up objects?
Now, replicating the physics properties over the network is going to get a little bit tricky. I know Alan Noon was working on some stuff with physics property and replicating that properly over the network. As far as the actual object itself, setting it to replicate is all you really need to do, so that clients can see it as well. But the process of picking it up on the server versus on the client, if it's the client, you will need to communicate to the server that it's been executed, and the server then would replicate and broadcast that out to all the clients. We get into that discussion in that video series that I mentioned in terms of picking characters, how you would pick characters, that same process of communicating information to the server and then broadcasting that out to clients. You probably do it in that same manner, just handling it a little bit differently, but using the custom events and setting their replication properties to either multicast, replicated, or what's the other one? I'm drawing a blank here right now. But it's on the custom event.
Multicast, replicated, and
I might not remember what it is right now, but it's here nor there. It's pretty.
I can't remember now. It's the client server one.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah. Well, we do cover that in that video series.
The networking video series.
So
okay.
That should help you steer you in the right path. It's not going to give you the concrete, this is how to do it, but it should head you in the right direction.
Here's another one. Question. I assume you had to package the game to test multiplayer. You're saying we just need the same development build. So actually, multiplayer will work if you run a standalone game right out of the editor. So if he has 4.10.2 and I have 4.10.2 editor open, you just simply come up here, you do the play a standalone game, so it's going to launch another instance of your game outside of the editor, and then the menu will work. You can connect, I can connect.
And you can right-click on the executable itself and choose launch game.
You can also do that.
Totally a way of doing it. There are a couple things that I know the networking team is still working on. There's one problem that I ran into specifically with this project, and I think I touched on it as well in the video series. If you are using server travel, which I do use, and server travel means all of the clients that are connected to the server, when we decide to open a new map, take all the clients along for the ride. If you're using server travel, regardless of whether or not you're using Steam or whatever type of online subsystem, which we talk about as well. You cannot run that in the editor. A plugin editor session will not actually proceed with the server travel. Some of you may have already run into this already. I ran into it in the project and couldn't figure out why I wasn't loading the level that I had selected, which worked in standalone version, but it doesn't work in a plugin editor session, so you do need to run a standalone version.
So here's another question. When I installed UE4 and started a C++ project, I had to install Visual Studio 2015 because it said I had no compiler on my computer, even though Visual Studio 2012 was already installed. Is there a reason why we can't use Visual Studio 2012? We have upgraded to 2015, and I do not know off the top of my head what the last version of UE4 that supported 2012 is, but
yeah, that's definitely an answer hub question. I know the support guys have a more definitive answer of which versions support which, but I know that change was made, and I remember that question coming up before.
Yep, so you're going to have to use Visual Studio 2015. If you have any more problems, please go submit the question to Answer Hub, and you'll get an answer there very, very quickly. Let me see, what else do we got here? Question, when can we use the UMG button click, hover, etc. functions with HMD gaze? This currently only works with the mouse.
Yeah.
That is actually not something that we have even started to look into. Well, I should say, I haven't looked into that at all.
I deal a lot with UMG, so I feel I don't want to say pain, but I feel the stumbling blocks that you're hitting as well. I did want to try and talk to Nick Darnell before this meeting to kind of talk about 3D widgets, specifically on what's going to be happening moving forward, especially with VR, because as we know, the traditional 2D widgets don't work well in VR. So moving forward, using 3D widgets is what we suggested. Now, 3D widgets are still in the experimental stage, so there's still some hiccups with those. As far as a timeline on when that stuff's coming online, right now we've all kind of, with VR, have been experimenting and trying things, and with UMG now being integrated into VR, experimenting and trying things with those as well. So we do have that project. I can show you how I handled some of that stuff. It may not be the way that you choose to do it, but it's a workaround for now until those systems come online.
Makes sense.
He's talking about like the mouse clicking on buttons and stuff like that. There is no, if you have a motion controller, how do you represent the mouse physically going over
I thought he was talking like you move your head like this, and then what's in the center of your eye is what you're clicking on.
Even if you set something up from the HMD to like look at an object, which I was doing before, there's no way to detect if you're hovering over it through UMG currently. So I was using overlaps and had like a static object or a volume.
Or like you do an overlap, and it's like if it's greater than 2 seconds, then you must be hovering or something like that. So. I know one other thing I wanted to talk about, and it's going to require one of these guys. This is a question I've seen come up a couple of times, and actually was a stumbler for us for a little while. When you're using the older version of the touch controller, sometimes your trackpad won't work, right? And if that starts to happen, there's a very simple way that you need to do it. Is basically you turn this thing off, and then you hold down these two buttons. You hold down this little tiny black button right here, which is the Steam button, and then you press the trigger in the back, and then you turn this guy back on, and you'll hear a little doo-doo, little doo-doo.
How does it go? I missed that.
Doo-doo. And that means that this has been reset, and basically that will reset this to now give you full directional control. Sometimes you only maybe will get like the top half will work.
Yeah.
We've been trying it on these guys, but we've actually never had that problem on that.
Upgraded to this, I've noticed some subtle changes with this. Like with this one, that one runs on batteries. The old ones, these are now USB. Thank goodness. I can plug it in and recharge it. I tried doing that with the new ones, and I couldn't get it to work. So I don't know if they're gonna Steam is gonna put in something.
Maybe it auto calibrates, or they put it in the VR tool set.
Yeah.
But that's just a real quick like, I can only get like 3 movement events from my trackpad, and you're like, what is going on? And then I came into the VR lab, and I was like, hey, do you guys have problems with your trackpad only registering the top half? And then Nick Donaldson was like, you need to recalibrate. And I was like, I've been looking for this thing for like 2 days trying to figure this stuff out. So so that's it. So basically you turn the controller off, you hold down the black button and the trigger in the back here, turn the controller back on, it'll make a special different beeping noise that you haven't heard, and that means that your controller has been reset up. So you should now be able to use the entire trackpad on there.
Answer that question.
You see, there's one other question. It's not a VR question, but Wes may know this, and I'm sure he probably does. The question is, debating switching to Unreal from a 2D engine. What are some of the biggest tips for getting started or mistakes I could avoid?
The biggest tips for getting started is that, I guess, don't feel discouraged. That's the biggest tip I can give you. Because I personally haven't had any Unreal Engine experience before I came here, and I didn't know how to even move around in the editor because I had always worked with proprietary editors in the past. So coming here, I was completely new to Unreal. And don't get discouraged. Just keep at it. Keep going through all the tutorials, especially if you're coming from another engine. You'll have some familiarity with concepts. Those translate into Unreal. They just may be done a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. A draw call is still a draw call.
Yeah, so just doing the tutorials. From a 2D engine, we do have the Paper 2D system, which is pretty well documented.
It's pretty robust.
Yeah, there's some tutorials on there. I know I wrote some of those. And again, I haven't done anything in 2D before this, so there's some tutorials on how to get started in there and get a character that can walk around. There's a top-down one that I think I created, a how-to for that, as well as a side-scroller as well. Zach did some excellent video series on those. If you haven't watched those already, it should get you up and running pretty quickly with a prototype in 2D.
Yeah, and the same thing can go over to VR. Just Wes really hit it on the head. Don't get discouraged, right? Yeah. That's the biggest way you can shoot yourself into the
don't kick yourself.
I just told you guys about our stumbling problem right here. I felt so dumb when he was like, "Oh yeah, you just got to do this. Hold down the button in the back and make sure it's off, and then turn it back on." I was like, so everybody's got stumbling blocks. What separates the people who are successful versus the people that aren't successful is the ones who are successful. They got up, they dusted themselves off, and they got back up on that horse. So.
Yeah, the flipbook stuff is really cool for animating. Remember that character that I had, like a 2D fighter? And
he had the dude was doing little Hadoukens, and it was pretty awesome. I
just grabbed some sprites off the internet and just put it together in flipbook and had an animated character that could run, jump, taunt, all kinds of stuff.
It was like easily. A day. Morning, he's like, dude, check this out. He's got a little character going, and then by the end of the day, he had like power-ups and 2 attacks. And I was like, holy crap, that was like 4 hours ago, man. So, looks like that's about all the questions we've gone through right now.
We can jump back into the project and kind of show the UMG stuff. We can't actually show because the controllers aren't working, but we can.
Yeah, unfortunately, our
take a look.
Just decided to. And
that's the setup.
This thing is not going away.
Project. That's all right. You can pop the project up.
There we go.
So it should be the Carnival Games project. Is it already open? Did you close it?
I might have closed it by accident. Oh, wait.
Can they see our compositor on screen there?
Oh.
Can they see that?
Here, let me put it up here. So as you guys can see,
we have 4 controllers.
We have 4 controllers because we were like,
none of them were working.
These ones would show up and vibrate, but the other ones. So we're like, okay, maybe it's something with the computer. But none of them would work.
Yeah,
like,
not quite sure.
Yeah, I have no idea why I decided to do that. So, all right, let's hop back into the game here. I'm gonna move the compositor back down. So, all right, where's the first thing I should look at?
What we're looking at here is kind of, you're gonna see this menu a lot, just because it's really easy to throw that up. It's all placeholder. We just want to get the functionality in. The art's not anything to look at, but we're just looking at a 3D widget here. If you click on it. And over in the world outliner there, edit, the top there, you can do that. Yeah, that's fine. That one too. So it's just an actor with a 3D widget. We talked about these in the past. One of the things I forgot to mention in the previous one, so if you look in the components tab here on the left, we have 4 different widgets for the various buttons. I created these as individual widgets rather than creating a widget that had a main menu, a find, and a quit, all on the same widget. What I found is that when you are trying to get the widget component, it returns the whole thing. So if I were to, through Blueprint's script, have a menu that had find, host, and quit all in the same widget, and I choose to get that widget component, there was no way currently to access the individual buttons within it. It just returns the whole widget. It doesn't return.
Couldn't actually drill down and get like a child of the widget.
Right. So this is the way that I had to do it for now. Want to talk to Nick, and hopefully in the next stream we can have some more answers on what's the direction for 3D widgets, and especially with VR. But it's working now when the motion controllers are working. So.
Pain of my existence at the moment.
Yeah. So all I did was create a couple widget components here for each of my button options. If you click on the component again, real quick.
Up here or this one?
In the components window, just click not that one, the host, for example.
That one.
So over in the details panel over here, if you scroll down a little bit on the collision section, up a little bit above tags there. So we do have the ability to generate overlaps on the widgets themselves.
Oh, I didn't know.
So yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know that at first actually. I suppose I should have looked deeper at the details panel. But yeah, so you can generate overlaps event from those. So anytime you want to.
Makes sense because it is an object that's actually placed in the world.
Right.
But
it has collision.
normally when you think about UI, it's
you don't think that.
attached right to your face or right to the screen, so it's a completely separate entity from the rest of the world.
Right. So if you can you undock this and just dock it to the project, the actual menu. Okay. Just dock it to the project up there at the top.
Oh, right here.
Yep.
Okay.
And open up the menu pawn.
Oh, where's that guy?
So that should be up in the blueprints folder. Just go up one folder there. And menu pawn.
Menu pawn. Here we go.
Let's create a separate character for handling the menu character. Now we can talk about this as well.
Okay.
The HMD orientation. This is actually changed from 4.11.
In 4.11, you no longer have to do this. It just follows the
Right.
HMD.
Right. We don't have that 4.11 project up anymore, do we? There is a node too that I saw. Do you still have it?
Yep,
up?
I saw
you
it
do.
here.
Create a blueprint real quick. I'm kind of curious. Let's take a look at this real quick. Some of you may have experimented with this.
Just a
already.
regular actor.
Anyone, yeah, should be fine, I think. Let's open that up. And you hop over to the graph. Once it opens, that graph there. Right click in here, get player controller. So get player controller. That one. Drag off of that and search for HMD. Uncheck the context sensitivity.
Yeah.
You might need to get the player camera manager first, I think. But let's see, enable HMD. That's the node that I was looking for. So this is the new node. So they've replaced it with this node now.
Okay.
So you can enable or disable the HMD right there. You don't
Okay.
have to use the get player.
You don't have to
Get player
basically-
controller,
okay.
get player camera manager, and then from that enable or disable the HMD. You can do it through this node.
So this
now.
just basically rolls those 3 additional steps into one blueprint node.
Yeah.
So then you would just do something like begin play,
yeah,
enabled it, and
yeah. You don't
so
need to
on
do
and so
anything
forth.
else, yeah.
So okay.
So that was one of the changes I noticed in 4.11. So back in our project here, if we hop over to the components, go to the viewport real quick. So for this, really
It's a
cheap.
lightsaber.
That is. So I was trying to mimic if some of you have worked with the Vive already, you got your hands on one, the Steam functionality when you press the button has the little laser thing.
It's a little laser pointer that comes
That's what I
out.
was trying to create here.
that's
So it's the
exactly
same
what
thing.
it
It's
is.
just a particle effect with a box collision around it. That's all I did. If our motion controllers were working, you'd have the same functionality that you have in the Steam, where you can point at an option or point at a menu option. Because we're generating overlaps events there with that box, it will know when we're over the menu
okay.
option. So instead of having a mouse over or a touch over, we're using this to generate overlap events. So
Okay.
that's how I worked around not being able to have mouse over events translated to controller over events,
Okay, that
essentially,
makes
just
sense.
using overlap events. Again, I don't know what the plan is going to be for 3D widgets moving forward. Hopefully we can talk about this a little bit more after I speak to Nick
Yeah,
to see what
yeah.
we're going to do to handle this.
Okay.
That's how I did that in the menu pawns. We have this thing that can generate overlaps on our pawn. And then in the actual menu, if we go back to that,
Oops.
over one more.
That one.
Yeah, so we're just generating overlap events, and then we're setting an integer to correspond to the menu option that we're highlighted over.
Okay.
If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, we're doing a switch on int. So if I'm over 0, we're not
okay.
doing anything. If we're over 1, then we're launching the game. If we're number
okay.
2 was find, or number 2 was find games, I believe it was. So then we're
Yeah, so if
finding
you're
all actors of class of our server menu and kind of doing the same thing, hiding the main menu and then showing the server menu, populating the server with search results. If you double click on that node at the end there,
This one right here.
so we go up to this, we scroll over a little bit. Now this is the functionality for actually finding sessions, and this is covered in that video series, how we set this up, how you actually populate the serverless window with servers.
Steam settings in the options. That was a stumbling block, I remember. Online subsystems. And
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Some of you may have run into this. I just assumed because I've run into it early on that people already know this. But there is, if you do plan to incorporate Steam, the first thing that you will need to do is include the online subsystem for Steam, and that will show you, or that will allow you to tap into Steam functionality such as
I do
friends
believe it's
list.
in default. engine?
Yes, it's in the default engine. It's not. Is it? I don't have Steam set up on this particular project. On the other project.
Okay. All right, we'll show you guys in next stream. But the only reason I brought that up is Wes and I had a conversation about why we couldn't see each other on Steam.
Yeah.
And it was literally like,
there's
enable,
a little bit of
false.
There's a little bit of script. Unfortunately, that script is provided in the documentation. I point you to that section in the documentation in the video series as well. But it's this little block of code that allows you to tap into the Steam API and functionality.
You enable it, and then boom, everything
Steam works. Yeah,
everything will start working.
Should have showed that in the actual thing, but oh well. You could press Shift Tab and it'll bring up the Steam overlay, and you can see your friends list and all that. Now, there's one other thing that I mentioned in the video series with that project that we weren't able to iron out. I'm hoping maybe I can tack that on as a separate video. Getting friends list invites to work with Steam. I don't know if some of you have tried this already.
Tried that one.
I couldn't get all the Steam functionality was working except for Sam was on my friends list and I choose to invite to game. He would actually go to the Steam test game. So when you're putting your game on Steam, you need an app ID. There's a test app ID that you can use to test out all your Steam functionality.
It's called Space Wars.
And it's called Space Wars. So whenever I would try to invite Sam to one of my games, it would take him to the actual Steam test app game. And I spoke with our networking team here, and they were saying that that shouldn't be the case. It should have brought you into my game. I could broadcast my game, which was cool.
And I can actually watch through his game, through Steam, I can actually watch him play.
So I hooked into that functionality as well as friends list, as well as all the other bells and whistles of Steam. But friends list, I couldn't get to work all the way. That and server names, your custom server name, being able to display that on the server
having
list.
Like that unique identifier.
Yeah, and there's it uses your Steam name or your computer name if you're playing LAN. There's two reasons why I didn't think that was a big hurdle for that video series. The first is that I know Nick and the Blueprint team, networking team, want to expose more functionality to Blueprint, that Blueprint node of creating sessions. Right now, when you create a session, you can specify whether it's LAN, you can specify the number of connections, and that's it. If you want to get the server name from a Blueprint session result, that's what returns your Steam name if you're connected to Steam, or your computer name. I know the networking team and the Blueprint team want to expose more functionality for passing through a server name as well as game mode. So you can set up, if you're passing through like a game mode for a deathmatch or CTF, then you could filter your session results by that particular game mode. So I know that stuff is in the works. I don't have a timeline for that, but that's why I didn't think it was a big deal for now. Hopefully more of that stuff will come on.
Yeah, we'll get all this stuff in there in the project and in the carnival game.
Yeah. But back to the friends list, I do have a meeting with Josh on Wednesday from our team here, who's going to kind of sit down with the project with me. Maybe we can get that ironed out to see why we couldn't connect for friends list. Cool. We could tack that on to the end of the video because that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be a pretty cool one.
So 252. Yeah, any more questions?
I'm just checking out if there's any more questions. I don't see any more on here.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to hop over to the server menu real quick.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
Real quick. So we've set up the main menu here. So we have our main menu in the background. We have a server menu. Same setup. Let's see. I know this was one of the questions on the forums, not for this particular stream or whatever, but I've seen this question before. How would you do a, well, that's the main menu. Where's the server menu? There it is. How would you do a server list? And I was kind of wondering how you would do this as well. The way that I did it was just to set up individual blocks to contain my session results and then populate them as need be. So if I return 4 sessions found, then I can populate that. If it was more, what I plan on doing is just doing like next and last tabs instead of a scroll box.
Like a little tab that goes next. You leave those 4 boxes there, but the underlying widgets just get replaced.
The reason I went this route, again, because of 3D widgets are still in their infancy. If I were to use a scroll box widget and then populate that with these individual lines, which are their own widgets, again, I would be referencing the scroll box widget and not being able to pull out from it the individual widget. So doing it as individual widgets has been the method that I've been using so far. This may or may not be the exact way to do it. So hopefully I'll get an answer on this, and in the next stream we can talk about this a little bit more using 3D widgets. So.
I got another question here.
Yeah.
It's when I want to make a custom graphical enhancement, like a new AA method, I have to download the UE4 source, right? Or is this possible without it? If you're looking to do something like some new form of AA. I mean, you can do it through HLSL using the custom node inside of the material editor. And to get to that guy, we just come here and go up to the content, or let me just see if I can find a material really quick. Yeah, there we go. Custom node is right here. And basically what the custom node allows you to do, let me move my compositor thing out of the, oh, I gotta grab that box, there we go. What this allows you to do is right up here I can input code that allows me to test different AA methods or basically anything, doing blurs and things of that nature. I've been talking a little bit with Ryan Brooks. He has, I mean, Ryan is a just a wizard when it comes to VR. Some of the stuff he does completely, totally, utterly VR, blows my mind. Or I should say Unreal. That's what I meant to say. And Unreal completely, totally, utterly blows my mind.
He's the one that did the spline stuff, right?
Yeah. He did the Instance Mesh spline stuff. He did the interesting stuff for Bullet Train with the train tracks and things like that. But I was talking to him about the custom node. And he has a lot of things that he's done. Like he made this one custom node that when the light comes through it, it breaks the light apart into its individual rainbow channels, and it casts translucent rainbow colored shadows. It's expensive, right? Totally expensive, but it's all done in HLSL. Okay. And the cool thing about that is that inside this custom node, basically what this node is doing is you type in your HLSL, you type in the same code that's generated from this node right here, you can type it into here, and it's anything that you want to do with it. Okay. Now, say you've done your HLSL and you're like, okay, everything's working. I've got my new AA method, Sam's Awesome AA, it works great. What you're going to do then is you're going to want to roll that in via C++. Always going to be faster in C++, right? It's just going to be faster. And that is a little bit out of my area of expertise, getting the next part, rolling it into Unreal. I've never had to do that before. I just hand it off to the graphics programmer. I'm like, here's what I want it to look like. You're the one who's good at math, right? Yeah. So, let's see. Is there anything else? No, that's all the questions that I see for now. Yeah, so today we covered instant stereo rendering, which is a 411 only feature. Layered stereo rendering. More on that in a little while. I didn't have anything to go by. I hadn't had a chance to talk to the VR team about how you would necessarily go about doing that, which I'm going to find out so we can talk about it next time, because I don't know if it's as simple as like,
feature. We just found out.
Oh yeah, I just got to turn this one thing on, or you don't have to do anything. It's all in the background. You just need to specify the texture format or something like that. So we talked about resetting the Vive trackpad, which is only for the older sombrero-looking ones, like this one in my hand for now. And that's about it from me over here. So we got any other questions going on in the stream?
Is there anything else in there? Why can't I see it
on? Turn off material. I have the filter turned on because I was like, yeah, there you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Real quick. No. I might have to save this for next one. We can actually demo. I was going to show the picking up objects in the network. Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't show both of them. Because that was working when
motion controllers don't work. Yeah, it works because we've got it. So I can come up to the basketball game. I can pick up, basically, Wes has it set up now where you pull on the trigger right here. The trigger pulls up the basketball, and then you need to make sure you put this thing around your hand because I've almost lost the motion controller into Wes and into my computer.
It's like a Wiimote.
Yes. So you put this little bad boy in there, and then... there you go. And then it's
like a flicking motion.
You flick it up there, and I mean, I was even trying to do like this, but it's velocity based, like this velocity based. So like on the Wii, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and then they found out you could just do this.
That's how I play games, exactly like that.
Well, I tried playing our basketball. Yeah, this doesn't work. You've got to do that because it needs the full velocity.
You should do it fast like that.
Yeah, you can do it.
That's how I was.
I don't like doing this because I'm afraid I'm going to smash my monitor.
Well, we didn't mention our ball in the cup version that we were going to create.
Yes, we were going to create a real life ball in the cup. It's going to be totally.
We're going to attach a ball to this and just into the top
VR.
of this.
So it's like you get double points. You get real life points and you get digital points if you can make it in there. But we might have to save that for next time, unfortunately, when we get our motion controllers working properly.
But the client server functionality was there. I just mention that, or just remember that when I saw that guy's question again about picking up over network. We did have that
Yeah,
functionality
we do
working,
have that working.
but you were controlling my screen.
Yeah, so which I thought would be kind of a cool game because I was doing all this crazy stuff and Wes is moving around and his arms are moving all crazy, and I thought that would be kind of an interesting game. It's like Wes controls part of the movement and then I control the hand, so he's like, stop picking my nose, man, quit it.
So, yeah, we'll have to demo that.
Yeah, we'll have to demo that next time. And we also have a Vive for this room now.
Yeah, so we don't have to move.
So we don't have to keep
hardware
moving
around
hardware around. So after the stream, we're going to figure out what exactly went wrong so that we can have this working better for you guys next time. Yeah, so let's kick over to the questions again really quick. If you guys have anything else you want to know, just throw it in that question box.
News about Google Cardboard.
I don't have any news about Google Cardboard at the moment.
I still haven't used that. I got to try that out.
I have it at my desk, and I have I have a faster phone now. Yeah, better iPhone makes the Google Cardboard. It was not working very well on my 4. And Shelly's got one as
has
well.
one, and I don't even have. What's going on here?
I know.
We need to talk to IT or something. I guess I can get one off the internet for like $15, right?
Well, I mean, we are. Oh, that's the other thing. We will both be at VR LA this weekend.
What are we going to be doing there? Let's tell them.
Demoing Bullet Train.
Any VR questions? Any of you LA guys out there?
If any of you happen to make it out to VR LA, if you want to stop by the booth and tell us how good or how bad you think we're doing, feel free. I might kick you out. Now,
did we mention DICE yet? That we're going to be at DICE?
I don't think so.
Well,
Wes is going to be at DICE.
I'll probably be at DICE as well, doing some VR stuff. Hopefully that was out there.
Yep, and then we'll be at GDC this year as well. And then if you guys can make it to GDC, please come by. If you got any VR questions, Wes and I will both be there along with Team Nick. So yeah, we'll have a lot of VR experts there. If you guys need any questions or there's just something that you need to know or something like that, please stop by. And
as always, I mean, there's the forums too. So
yeah, and then
keep posting
as always,
stuff in the forums.
Keep posting. Wes and I check it. That's usually how I eat my breakfast in the morning, is checking the forums, so seeing what's going on.
Anything that you guys want to see specifically for future streams, get that stuff in there, and we can take a look and try to incorporate that in.
Yes, for sure. If there's something you want, please make a post in the forums, or else we'll keep going with what we think that you guys want to see. But if there is something specific that you're like, I need to know how to do this, let us know. Yeah,
actually brings up, I do want to try to talk to Lena at some point, our animation expert here, because somebody had mentioned IK constraints for motion controllers. Now, I seen somebody, I can't remember who did it. There was a work in progress. Kudos to whoever you are out there. I was going to show it to you. There's somebody that had something kind of working with shoulders and arms. It was all like static meshes or whatever, but he had an IK set up.
So basically, it's using the motion controllers and then doing a reverse IK chain back up to here, so that when I move my arm up like this, or I move over here like this, like the entire chain is.
Eventually, we want to get that working for this anyway.
That's something that we want to do for the game, because right now it's just a dude with 2 box hands and a tiny little capsule for a body. I feel like a giant every time I play. So
baby steps, man.
Yep. It's got to go with the baby steps. So. Well, that's pretty much all that we've got for today. Let me just check back, see if we've got any more questions right there at the end.
Nothing on the forums, and the stream questions look okay.
So yeah. Well, I guess that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time, and hopefully we'll have the motion controllers working.
They'll be working.
Yeah, they'll be working.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys. See you later.